Hi, everybody. Mitch Chan here. Thanks for joining me today. This is this week's security news update. In the alerts department, people don't like getting rid of electronic devices that they think are still working. But here's a good reason why, unfortunately, you need to do that. Cisco has announced, if announced is the right word, that two of their voice over IP phones models, the SPA 300 and the SPA 500, have a critical bug in them, at least one critical bug, and two slightly less critical bugs, but they're not going to fix them. And the result is, hackers who now know that these phones are vulnerable are going to be looking for them, and the hackers will be able to take over the device. And assuming the device is sitting on your network, which most phones are, then they got your network. They own it. This is not uncommon. Unfortunately it's a problem, and people don't like getting rid of stuff, but this is why you got to do it. No more support. You don't use it, at least not in any kind of environment where you care about your data or your network or your computers or anything. Next, also in the alerts department, Sonos, the big speaker company, has announced that there's a bug in their smart speakers. Maybe there's smart speakers are not quite so smart. And they can be turned into microphones and eavesdrop on you and listen to everything in the room where the speakers are. Now, you do patch your speakers. I know everybody does patch their speakers regularly. But if you have not patched your Sonos speakers, then now would be a great time to do that. A few years ago, I had to patch my dishwasher. And when I asked them, well, why do I need to patch it? They said, well, might catch fire. I said, okay, works for me. Go patch my dishwasher. But nowadays, you pretty much have to patch everything because nothing is hardware anymore. Everything is software based. In the new software and hardware to check out department, Apple has open sourced their homomorphic encryption software. It works with their Swift programming language. Homomorphic encryption is kind of a holy grail in the security and privacy department. Basically, what this allows you to do is send someone data that is encrypted without sending them the encryption key and let them do whatever processing they do. They'll send you the results back and then you decrypt it. So it's pretty cool when it works. Right now, it's working on caller ID data, which is, obviously 10 digits. So it's relatively simple data set as opposed to, say, the English language. But still, interesting stuff and might be something that could be useful to you. Also, for Apple, they just released the beta of iOS 18.1. This is the first one that will have Apple Intelligence, which I guess means that all the previous releases had Apple dumbness. I don't know. What would you call that? In any case, that's their AI tool, seriously. And it's going to be released to consumers in the fall. It's going to include writing tools, new Siri features, mail features. It's also designed to reduce interruptions, add transcription capabilities, and provide new photo capabilities. So I suspect that iPhone users will, kind of want to do that. And the important issues and patches department, 1Password, one of the big password managers, announced that they have a bug that could expose your passwords, which is not a great thing. In this case, the bug could allow malware to steal your secrets and unlock and get your unlock key. Now, the good news is, assuming that is good news, it only affects Macs, which is kind of a change because usually Macs don't get infected, and it's the Windows machines that get infected. And there is a patch available, but here's the caveat, right? This is only a problem if your computer is already infected with malware. So if your computer is already infected with malware, you probably got bigger problems than this, although this is certainly a big one. Moral of the story, keep the malware out of your computer and won't be a problem. In a legislative and legal, and this is going to be a big, big mess, CrowdStrike clapped back at Delta. Delta very publicly bashed CrowdStrike, saying that the CrowdStrike meltdown cost Delta $500 million for a variety of different reasons, mostly because their software was crappy. And now they want CrowdStrike to pay. CrowdStrike says, I don't think that's going to happen. First of all, we offered to assist you, and you basically ignored us. And apparently, Microsoft also offered to assist them. They also ignored them. So, what CrowdStrike said, should Delta pursue this path, suing them, Delta will have to explain to the public, its shareholders, and ultimately a jury why CrowdStrike took responsibility for its actions, maybe, swiftly, transparently, and constructively, while Delta did not. And I think it's fair, right? I mean, this is probably just a bunch of breastfeeding on the part of Delta's CEO because, if I was a stockholder and my stock took a nosedive because the company had crappy security practices and crappy software practices, shades of what happened to Southwest 2 years ago over Christmas, I'd kind of be hopping mad too. And I think that I'd be suing Delta more than I'd be suing CrowdStrike. Anyway, if this goes to trial, it'll get ugly. On the other hand, it'll be kind of interesting for those of us who have popcorn. Next, FTX is going to pay $12.7 billion to settle the Commodity Future Trading Commission lawsuit against them. That's just one of many, many lawsuits. They're going to pay $8.7 billion restitution, another $4 billion in disgorgement, and none of that's going to go to the FTC, which is nice. It's all going to go to creditors. I'm not sure I'd call this education, but I will call it education. There was a crypto token, the $DJT crypto token, and someone did a rug pull on it, meaning that they kind of pulled the rug out from under it. Explain what that means in a minute. It loses 90% of its value, which, that's kind of a lot. So the Trump-themed crypto token spiked in June when it was falsely reported that the token was the official Trump token, and then the price sort of dwindled. Now, someone dumped a wallet holding 20% of all of the DJT tokens, crashing the price by 90%. So if the price wasn't horrible enough, it just became really, really horrible. So anybody that still had any DJT tokens, they're kind of worthless now. The key suspects are either Martin Shkreli, who is a pharma, they call him a farmer executive, who is behind the project, but he tried to shift the blame to Barron Trump. I didn't know that Barron was into crypto, but maybe he is. His dad apparently all of a sudden has become a crypto convert after he called it, what did he call it a couple of years ago? Basically, crooked scheme. He didn't use those words, he used different words, but the owner of the wallet at this point is not known, but those still holding any DJT tokens lost 90% of their money, and they're not going to get it back. In the breaches department, a hacker named Finis leaked almost 3 billion records. Think about that. It's 10 times the population of the United States from national public data. The data belongs to NPD, who is a background check firm. This is the same firm that claimed to have hacked the InfraGard portal, which is the FBI portal. Given that only Americans have socials, there's probably a lot of duplicates here. I'm guessing every time somebody got a background check run on them, adds another record. But still, that's a lot of data. Next, ransomware attack leads to $30 million in lost income at just one automobile chain. So you may remember a couple of months ago, April, the CDK Global, who is kind of a firm that builds a all-in-one bit of software that many tens of thousands of auto dealerships use, got hit by a ransomware attack, and they were down for several weeks. Well, one chain, Sonic Automotive, said they lost $30 million in GAAP income and $22 million in net income, and some of that is about $11 million. It's tied to excess compensation paid to its employees to deal with this nonsense. That's a chunk of change. That's just one automobile chain. Next, pharma giant Sinora revealed a breach that included health diagnosis, medications, prescriptions. It's not really a great year for the healthcare industry. Sinora used to be called AmerisourceBergen, Maybe they're going to change their name again. They've notified about 1.5 million patients that their health information is stolen, although even they say that number is going to rise. Following the time-honored tradition of if we pretend the breach didn't happen, we won't get sued, even though that doesn't really work. They're not talking. Likely what this means is that their security software security practice is not so good. They don't really know how bad it is. And the fact that they say the number is going to rise and the breach happened 3 months ago says their security practices are so good. Next, score one for the good guys. The EU went after TikTok, saying that TikTok had this rewards program, which basically said the longer you stayed on their platform, the more you interacted with the platform, you'd earn points, and those points could be traded in for goodies. The EU said, yeah, I don't think so. That's not a good thing. And TikTok finally said, well, we're not going to fight this one because we know we're going to lose the battle. And, so they said they were going to stop that. Although I think they said they're going to go off and try to figure out a way to compensate people who have already have some reward tokens. Next, also in the EU, Ireland is suing Twitter over harvesting user data for their AI. In this particular case, Twitter decided they didn't need to ask for permission. They created this switch. They buried it about 4 levels down in the menu. They turned it on by default, not off, which would be the logical thing to do. And that, they claim, allowed them to harvest all of your data, all of your inferences, all your reasoning, all the results, all everything to train their AI. Ireland doesn't think that's a great plan. They took that to the High Court, asking the High Court to go off and tell Twitter to stop. Knowing Mr. Musk, he's going to fight that because that's what he does. But, I think that EU is probably going to prevail on this one, even though they're going to drag it out. And lastly, the security news bites for the week. Interpol, this is pretty amazing, recovers over $40 million from a business email compromise attack. They've got this new software which allows them to rapidly respond to these kind of things, and it worked. There was like 40 million stolen, or 42 million stolen, 40 million recovered. Next, Google has created a way to get deep fake porn of you, particularly not other people, removed from Google search results. It's a little bit convoluted, but still, it's a good thing that they do that. And hopefully you never have to take advantage of that, but it's good that it's there. Next, a speaker at Black Hat, the hacking conference, shows how to take over an AI bot to do malicious things. It's a big surprise there. Sure, we'll see a lot more of that. Next, sometimes competition works. In this particular case, Starlink, who is, probably the fair-haired boy in satellite internet these days, is beating the pants off companies like Viasat and HughesNet, which is a good thing because I've always not thought very fondly of those guys. They charge very high prices and they give very poor services. On the other hand, Starlink prices are much lower and the service is much better. So that's all good. And what we're seeing is the other guys' member numbers or subscriber numbers going way down, where Starlink's numbers are going way up. So that's the competition. Sometimes it works. And lastly, the White House is pushing for what they're calling cyber rule harmonization. What they're proposing is that Congress goes off and authorizes the creation of a coordination center inside the Office of the National Cyber Director and require agencies to run any new rule that has cyber implications through the Office of the National Cyber Coordinator. We shall see whether they do. First of all, we'll see whether Congress passes it. Then we'll see whether the agencies do. And the thing that I would like to see, which of course we'll never see, is if you don't run the rule through the Office of the National Cyber Director, the rule is null and void. Sorry, that won't happen, but that would be a great outcome if they would do that. With that, thanks for listening. If you have questions, of course, please reach out to us. And as always, stay safe. Thanks for listening.
Contact us today to discuss your needs and requirements and how we can help your business stay secure.